Hello, the Genius. Welcome back to this new session in CSS. Okay, so today we'll be talking about CSS in HTML because in the previous section we have mentioned that CSS is so important in web development. And basically, web development is about you creating pages, creating content that your users will see and interact with. So we use CSS to actually beautify it, to make it visually appealing. So how do we now use CSS? That is what we are going to be taking a look at in this session. So we have three ways we can actually because now, if you want to remember, we mentioned with CSS, there is a separation of concern, the presentation and the content. Okay, so how do you present it? Okay, and what is the content like? So when, of course, you would have to find a way to add your CSS inside your HTML. That is how you can actually add some styles to it. Okay, so we have three ways you can actually do that. We have what we call inline CSS. We have another one we call internal CSS, and we have the last one, external CSS. So we are going to take a look at all of them one by one. And let's take a look at inline CSS. Okay. Inline CSS allows you to apply styles directly to an individual HTML element using the style attribute inside the element's opening tag. I believe you have also taken a class in HTML where we also mentioned about attributes, and we mentioned that the style attribute is a global attribute, and this style attribute is used to style the element. So if you want to style the element, you want to change the color, the font size, the font family, the font weight. Okay, if you want to change anything when it comes to styling, you use the style attribute. So we use this style attribute for the inline CSS. I'm going to show you what I mean. Okay, now this method is very simple and it applies to the CSS rules only to that specific element. So with inline CSS, your styling is that style you apply is only specific to that element. Okay, so you can the same style, you cannot, how do I put it? Now, whatever style you use the style attribute to apply to an element, it will not affect other elements. So it is specific to that particular element. Okay, so when to use inline CSS, before we go there, let us take a look at CSS. Okay, so I have created a folder. All right, I created a folder called the CSS, and I opened that folder with Visual Studio Code, and this is where I am right now. Okay, so if for any reason you don't know how to do this, please just hit me up, chat me up on WhatsApp, reach to me so that I will show you how to do it. So now this is an empty folder, so I'm going to create HTML file. Okay, and okay, so I just created an HTML file. All right, so I would also create, there's no need now, we are trying to do internal, sorry, we are trying to do inline CSS. Okay, so with this HTML file, let's say inside of the body I have something like, I have a paragraph, and this paragraph I have content like hello CSS. Okay, so I'm going to run this code. I will click on go live. All right, if you don't know how to install the go live, if you don't know how to install the live server, all right, this is what you do. Just click on this icon, this extension icon. Once you click on it, come here and search for live server. All right, live server. It will bring it up for you. For me, I've installed it already. So for if you have not installed it, you will see this install button. Just click on the install button and it install it for you. Okay. So once you do that, now I have this web page. I want to render it in the browser. So I will click on go live. Once I click on go live, it will open this for me. So you can see that I have a content. So this is a web page without any styling. I have not styled it yet. So what would I want to do? So let's go on and style it. I will go back to my Visual Studio Code. Then remember, we are trying to talk about inline styling. So I'm going to use the style attribute. All right. Then the style attribute, remember, you must have taken HTML class, especially the first few sessions where we talk about attributes. And we said attributes are key value pair. Okay, so I'm not going to go into that here. So, but inside of this double quote, you can now say, let's say I want to change the color. I will say color, and I will do same colon, and let's say blue. Okay, so this is how you provide inline styling. You use the style attribute equal to, so you can now this is the property of this element I want to style, and I will use colon to differentiate between the property and the value. Don't worry, we're still going to talk about CSS rules. Okay, that is where I will explain more, but for now, just this is how you do it. And if I save, watch my browser, watch the Hello CSS. If I save, you can see now the color has changed to blue. And now I can also add more CSS properties here, but I will separate them with semicolon. And let's say I want to add font weight, and I want the font weight to be bold. All right, so if I save now, you can see now it is now bold. So don't worry, we're talking about other CSS rules and properties. Okay, but I've just shown you how you can style your CSS inline, how you can use the inline style to style your CSS. Okay, so you use the style attribute and then you provide the CSS rules. So this is called CSS rules. We'll talk about that later on. So this is how you can apply with this CSS attribute. Okay, this is how you can apply with the CSS, inline CSS. So when do you use inline CSS is the question. You use inline CSS whenever you just want quick styling fixes for specific elements, when there is no need to apply the styles across multiple elements. If whatever style you want to apply to a specific element, if there is no need to apply it to other elements, inline CSS is okay. That means that style is only for one particular element, one specific element. Okay, that is fine. All right. You can also use it for testing or debugging small changes. Okay, you might want to use it to maybe your content is not coming up the way you expect it. You can just use inline CSS to do sharp debugging to test your code. And maybe once you get what you want, you can now remove it. So for quick styling fixes for specific elements, all right, and for testing, all right. So this is when you use inline CSS. Okay. So what are the downsides? Okay. It is not really advisable to use inline CSS unless it is a special case. Okay. So now it makes the HTML code harder to read and maintain. It makes it harder to read and maintain. Let's go back to our code. Imagine I have plenty more rules inside of here. It will make it harder to read. It will make it harder to read. Okay, so that's one downside. Another downside is it doesn't promote code reusability. That means any style I apply to that element, I cannot use it for other elements. So reusability is one key concept that is amazing in programming. When you're writing your code, you should write your code in a way that you can reuse it in other places. It will help you to be more productive. So you cannot reuse code. You cannot reuse that CSS style that you have written. So that's another downside. And it is difficult to manage when you're working on a large project. In short, when you're working on a large project, you don't use inline styling. It's just hard, okay? Unless maybe you're using Tailwind CSS, all right? You can add those classes. But the thing is that it's not even inline. It's not even inline, all right? Even if you look at it very well, it's not even inline, all right? It is actually you're using styles that have been declared in other files, so it's not even inline. So it is difficult to manage when working on a large project with multiple pages. So these are the three downsides of inline CSS. Try to avoid it as much as possible, but you can always use it when you're debugging or you're testing, or maybe it's a special case, or if it's a special case, that's where you can use it. So in conclusion, use inline CSS for small isolated tasks. Using inline CSS for small isolated tasks is fine, okay? But for consistent styling and larger projects, external or internal CSS is more efficient and maintainable. Okay, so I believe you understand everything we said here. So now let's take a look at internal CSS and how does it look like. All right. Internal CSS is defined within the style tag. When we were talking about elements and when we were talking about tags, we mentioned the style tag. The style attribute is different from the style tag. The style attribute is for inline styling. The style tag or the style element is used inside the head section for styling your HTML document. So it allows you to apply styles to the entire page without creating an external CSS. Inline CSS is for a specific element, but internal CSS is for the whole web page. Do you understand? So any styles you have in the internal CSS, you can apply them in different elements. All right, so that's the difference. So this is useful when you want to apply styles to a single HTML page. Remember, inline CSS is just for when you're applying to a specific element. When your styles are for just a single HTML page, you can use internal CSS, okay? All right. So let me show you an example before we go to when to use it. Now, I want to use internal CSS. So I will, inside the head section, that is where I will put it. All right. I will create this style tag like this. Okay. I can now write my CSS. I could say P and I'll do something like this. Oh, sorry, this is wrong. That's not the syntax. I could do something like this, P. Now, is my syntax wrong? I believe so. Okay, so I would say color. All right, so my syntax wasn't wrong actually. I would say color blue. Okay, and I could say font weight bold. Okay, so this style I have here, I could put it inside here. All right, so I can now take out this inline style. Okay, or don't worry, what I could do is that I could comment it out. Yes, you also have comment in CSS. So after this is HTML actually, so I can comment it out. All right. So now, if I save, you see now, I'm applying this style to this paragraph tag. Don't worry, we are going to show you how to write CSS rules. Okay. So instead of having this style inline, I'm having it internal. So this is internal styling. All right, I'm putting my CSS rules inside of the style tag. So if I go back, this still applies. And there's an error there. Let me just take this thing out entirely. Okay. Okay. So if I save, I will have that. Okay. So I'm using external CSS to apply CSS to this p tag. Don't worry, we are going to talk about selectors, and that is where you would understand this, what I've just done here. But for now, this is how to do internal CSS. You put your style inside of the style tag inside of the head element. Okay, so let's go back to our slide. So when do you use it? You use it when you're working on a single page styling, when you just want that style to be applied to the page only. So you see this style that I have written here, it is only applied, it applies to this HTML page only. I cannot use it in another HTML page, okay? So when you're styling only one HTML page, you don't need to reuse the styles elsewhere. That is when you use the single page. That's when you use the internal styling, internal CSS. For quick customization too, if you want to do something very fast, it's a fast way to add styles without the need for a separate CSS file. So these are scenarios where you can actually use internal CSS. Okay. So, but what are the downsides? The first one is that it is not reusable. The same thing with the inline styling, because you cannot use internal styles in multiple pages. So if you have multiple pages and need the same styles on each, internal CSS is not sufficient. It's not efficient. All right. So it's not reusable. Code duplication. For multiple pages, you need to copy the same styles across several HTML files, which can lead to inconsistencies. Code duplication is a very bad practice in programming. And not reusing code is also another bad practice in programming. Okay. It increased the page load time. Now, when you look at it, let me take you back to code. You see, whenever this page is being loaded in the browser, this style would also be loaded. So it will take a longer time to load this than when you don't have it at all. So if you have this in a separate file, this HTML page will load faster. So that's what we mean by increased page load time. So large internal styles can make your HTML file bigger and slower, and slowing the down, and it slows the download time. It slows it down. Okay. So these are the three downsides. Okay. So what is the conclusion here? For larger projects, and basically you'll be working on larger projects. So external CSS is your go-to. All right. So external CSS is often preferred to keep the HTML file clean and allow the use of styles across multiple pages. So external CSS is more preferable. That is the best way to add your CSS in your HTML. So let's take a look at external CSS. All right. External CSS involves linking an external .css file to an HTML document, which allows you to separate the styling from the HTML structure. If you remember in our last session, we said one of the reasons you use CSS is separation of consign, and that is what external CSS actually helps you to do. So this is the most efficient way to apply consistent styles across multiple HTML pages. All right. So how do you do this? First of all, you create a separate CSS file. It will end with .css. You can give it any name at all. Then you now use the link tag, the link element in the head section to link it. So let me show you how to do this. Okay, first of all, you have to create an external CSS file. I'm going to call it index.css. All right. Then I have this style here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take this style we have here. I'll take it out. All right. I'll take it out and I'll put it in here and I will save. So if I want this style, if I want to use this style now in this HTML page, what I will do is that I will use the link tag. So I will use the link tag like this. Okay. I will use the link tag like this. All right. And inside of it, I would provide the relation. So what is the relation between this CSS file and the HTML? The relation is that it is a style sheet. Now, this is not compulsory. By default, this is the default one. All right. So you must not put the rel attribute. This is an attribute. The rel attribute in this tag, you must not put it. But you will have to put the href. You have to provide the href. And the href is actually saying, where is this CSS file located? So this CSS file is located in index.css. Now, we will talk about relative and absolute parts later on, okay? But for now, because this CSS file and this HTML file they're in the same folder, in the same level, I could use it like this. So I can save. But if you find it difficult doing it, please reach out to me so that I will help you out. Okay, so this is how you apply it. As I have saved this file now, I'll go back to my browser and it is still, I refresh, the style applies. Okay, so let me confirm that it applies. If I take this out, if I take this link out and save, you can see now look at the Hello CSS has changed. So it means that yes, I'm actually linking it. So once I bring it back, it works. Okay, so this is how you actually do it. You use the link element, you provide the rel attribute, and you provide the href attribute and give their values. Okay. So what are the benefits? Separation of consign, which is the main benefit of using CSS. All right, you can see that the two of them, they are all separated. The two files are separated. CSS is different here. HTML is different here. It's just the link that is bringing them together. I don't have any CSS rule inside of the HTML. So it's called separation of consign. So it helps The HTML structure and CSS styling are separated, making the code cleaner and easier to maintain. Okay. Reusability is another thing. All right. You can use this same file, CSS file, in multiple HTML pages. All right. They make your HTML file smaller because you're no longer adding the styles in the HTML. Okay. And maintainability. If you have any errors, you need to fix something sharp. You need to fix it. All you have to do is to go to the CSS and look at it. So it's called maintainability because it will be easier for you to maintain. So this core concepts you have seen here, separation of concern, reusability, smaller HTML files, maintainability, they are very, very important in programming. So take note of it. When do you use external CSS? When you have multiple page websites, and of course, you're going to be building multiple page websites. So for consistency and easier maintenance, when working on larger projects, you use external CSS. For efficient styling, you use external CSS. Okay. All right. And in conclusion, this approach is the most commonly used. So always use external CSS when you're linking your HTML with your CSS. Okay. Thank you very much. If you have any question, please reach out to me, reach out to your instructor, and we would help you out. Okay. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next session.